got other people showing up, but it's just good, again, for us to know that that our voices are coming through loud and clear. All right, my name is Eric Oje. I'm the Director of Research and Development here at American Business Systems, and certainly want to welcome you to this afternoon. And as we get started here, I want to share with you about our founder, Patrick Phillips here. And Patrick's written several books here, as you can see here on the screen. How to reprogram yourself for success, and how to wake up, live the life you love. And the one that I'm kind of circling right here, where it says Cash Crunch to Cash Flow. If we've got some time today, we'll talk about that book and how you actually utilize that book in your marketing. And that book's written specifically for American Business Systems licensees. But speaking of American Business Systems, who are we? Well, we are a company that's been around for going on 20 years, and the 20 years will be this next year, of helping people just like yourself get into the business of medical billing, working from home, and if they want to, certainly grow that business as large as they want to. Our website, if you have not been able to go out there to it yet, is absystems.com, and there you'll find a great deal of information. As you see here, we have our full package of American Business Systems with iClaim and EMRX, and you see these other services, Audit Guard and CodeWrite. To learn more about that information, you certainly want to click on this orange button here or here, and that'll get you into what's called our virtual brochure. And from there, you'll be able to go into a further and deeper due diligence study on the opportunity, how we help you get clients, the training, more about the support, and really in depth about technology, in which we're going to be talking about more in depth today. We are part of what's called Healthcare Billing and Management Association, hbma.org. So you might want to go out there and check them out, but we have been a part of with them for the last few years. And ABS has the highest rating possible with the Better Business Bureau. You can go check us out there with an A+ rating, and certainly have enjoyed having that there for quite some time. For those that would like to talk with us in person, you're more than welcome to come visit us here at our ABS headquarters here at 5751 Kroger Drive, just in a little community north of Fort Worth called Keller, Texas. You're more than welcome to come by and visit with us. And for those that are looking to get into the business, our next training is April the 8th through April the 12th, which is about 6 weeks from this Friday. We're right in the middle of our February class. And since the last day of this class ends on March the 1st, it almost seems like we're skipping the month of March. But we actually hold these classes every 6 weeks. So our next training class will be April the 8th through the 12th, and would love to have you join us and get involved in this business. And let's bring Patrick on the phone with us. Patrick, it's good to have you here this afternoon, and let's get started off by talking about these issues about web-based, cloud-based systems versus server-based systems.
Yeah, I didn't know if there would be a huge crowd show up for this webinar. The people who are not here, believe me, are going to be sorry, because this is really very important. If you're thinking about starting a medical billing business, folks, this is just crucial that you understand the differences between the cloud-based systems that are out there and what are called client-server systems. So anyway, we'll get into that in detail today, but hey, Eric, I want to kind of just open this webinar up today for the people who did decide to show up today. I think it's important that they know that we're listening to them. And folks, the way we listen on these webinars, they are live. I know that's hard to believe. It kind of sounds like a pre-recorded one. But this one, assuming that you are here at 3 o'clock, 3:04 p.m. here today, February the 27th, you're live. And the way you communicate with us is through that little question box over there. You want to tell them about that, Eric?
Absolutely. If you see there where it's got the question box, you can put in comments or ask questions there, and that's where throughout the presentation, Patrick and I will stop. We'll take some time out. Maybe it's a particular area of the webinar that you want to know more about. That is the time for you to voice your questions back to us, and we'll certainly take your questions right live here on air and just go right through them. And so
yeah, we just read them as they come in the order they show up, and yeah, we'll just address those as we go along. But let's get started today in this topic first by showing you a little bit about our system. ABS has actually our own system called iClaim EMRX. It allows the doctors to view their schedule from anywhere, anytime, if you give them access to that, of course, and you want to, because once they start using the scheduler, they're kind of locked in, aren't they, Eric? I mean, they're using our system, and we're using it to do their billing, so makes it wonderful. You can also have the doctor connect to all the major labs that are out there and view the lab results from any web-connected device, just like you're seeing here, somebody looking at their web report on an iPhone. It has wonderful drawing tools for the doctor in the EMR section of it to allow the doctor to annotate everything he wants about the patient. In fact, they can even take a picture, can't they, Eric, with their iPad or their iPhone and upload it right into the system.
Great. That's exactly right.
E-prescriptions, they can actually do a prescription for a patient right while they're in their office, and before the patient walks out of the office, that prescription is at the drugstore waiting for that patient to pick it up. It's got the latest in dictation on the iPad. They have a little microphone. You can see it right here on the screen. I'm circling it, and that is really cool because when you tap that microphone, you actually speak. And Eric, you did that yesterday in the demo for our class here this week, didn't you? You actually typed something in there or talked.
Yeah, I typed in and then also was able to just speak right into it also, and it typed right
translated it right in. Yeah, it translates it into text.
Absolutely.
So, folks,
matter of fact, I just did a demo just about 30-40 minutes ago, and it was to show that to one of the individuals on there that is on today. So
it kind of blows them away when they first see that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And guys, the latest that's out there is called telemedicine, or you might think of them as virtual office visits. Our system allows the doctor to actually allow the patient to go into the patient portal part of our software system and set up an appointment with the doctor virtually and talk to them using telemedicine, whatever you call it. Anyway, kind of like Skype, yeah.
Absolutely.
It has a built-in e-store. If the doctor has products that he wants to put on the store, he can tie those products in and sell them right over that patient portal. And they can, the patients can actually access their own health records anytime from any device that's connected to the internet 24/7. Wonderful. It's been endorsed by the American Osteopathic Association. Our iClaim EMRX system is also partnered with the American Podiatric Medical Association, and it's the first and only cloud-based electronic medical record system with the APMA seal. So anyway, that's just kind of an intro to our system. So as we talk about the differences between cloud-based medical billing and the client-server-based billing out there, I think you'll see the advantages of this. Here's some great comments already coming in. They're not questions, I don't think, but
yeah. Well, Craig does have actually a question there about.
Oh,
I think that was actually on the area where we were talking about the dictation part.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Craig, it does work on the iPad, especially on the new iPads. It's the devices. Let me put it this way. It's the devices that have a microphone, and it allows the user to actually speak into it. So, like, I know, like on whenever I demonstrated it yesterday, I'm using my iMac, the desktop version of it, and I've got the capability of turning on my microphone and speaking right into it. Or if I'm using either the iPad or the iPad Mini, that also has a microphone. So, really, any device that has a microphone that can pick up the voice of the speaker.
Sure. Yeah, iPhones and on your computer, a desktop computer, I think it's option twice. You tap the option button twice, and instead of typing, you just talk, and it translates it into text. So it's kind of, wow, it's like Star Trek, isn't it? I remember that first Star Trek movie where Scotty picked up the mouse trying to talking to the mouse to the computer.
Absolutely. Okay.
But yeah, not just iPads, Craig. Any PC or Mac type device that's out there. So let's talk about these pieces of software that you see on the screen here. These are what we think of as client-server-based software because, well, they literally come on a CD or a DVD that you install right onto the hard disk of the computer that's being run on. And so the main disadvantage of that, of course, that we're going to cover today is that, first of all, you've got to install it. That's the first step. And the hassle of getting something installed and running. We even tried one of the pieces of software on the screen there in our office here and could not ever get it to run. When we called the company that sold the software to us, they said, well, you got to call Microsoft. There's something wrong with the Microsoft settings or something. So it's easy for companies to blame, Microsoft for everything. It's all Bill Gates' fault, in other words. And then, of course, that also means that they have to install it on not just one computer in the office, but if they have several, they've got to install it on all those computers for those computers to be able to talk to one another. Now, the difference with cloud computing is that all that software actually resides out there in what they're referring to as the cloud. Eric, how do we explain the cloud to people who don't understand that yet?
Well, the cloud computing is just what we could say web computing. If we could log in from the internet from some location, again, whether it's our computers at home or at the office or on their iPhones at the golf course or whatever, we're talking about cloud computing. So anytime we can tap into the internet is what we're talking about.
And the hard thing for people to wrap their brain around, especially like in this screenshot, we don't show up at the top that this is actually running inside of a browser. That's all it is. It's just like Internet Explorer. It's Firefox. It's Safari. It's Google Chrome. It just basically, you log in going to a particular link or website, and then just log in with your username and password, and boom, there it is on the screen. Looks like software running on the computer, but it's not. It's running across the internet. And all of the big guys out there, of course, are moving to the cloud. You've heard of Google has all their stuff on the cloud now, all the Google Docs. And, of course, that Apple iCloud is the big thing now with the Apple users. Amazon even has their cloud drive, and Yahoo even has cloud computing. So, folks, that should tell you where the future is. It lies not in CD-based installed type software, but it resides out there in the cloud. So let's talk about why the cloud-based systems are best out there. By the way, I'm just seeing that Craig also said something there about Android tablets should work as well then. Yes, that's right. Because, again, it's running through the browser, so it's, what's the word, I guess, hardware agnostic. It doesn't care what hardware you're running it on. Yeah. All right. Well, here's one of the advantages, of course, of cloud-based. There's no installation or hardware involved as far as that goes. We've already talked about the fact that with CD or client server-based software that comes on a CD, of course, you have to install the CD, and it could be a number of CDs, and you got to load it all in there. You got to make sure everything is fine. Then you got to run to the next computer in your computer office and make sure that that's all installed as well. With cloud-based, it's all served from the server through the internet, so that not just one person in the office, but everybody in a doctor's office, everybody in your office as a medical biller, all the people you have working for you from their homes, for example, can all run that software directly off of that because it didn't have to be installed on the computers. And folks, we literally mean that, Eric. There's not one piece of our software that resides on anybody's computer, is there? Nothing has to be downloaded.
No, nothing has to be downloaded, and that also helps with, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later, about security and everything else like that whenever it comes down to HIPAA issues. So, yes. Absolutely, that's a good thing for it to be like that.
Well, like this GoToWebinar software that we're using here from Citrix. This is not our software that's running the webinar, folks. This is something that we just use. But I can tell you that you couldn't use this unless you downloaded a piece of software. Some of you probably had to download something to your computer to even run this and see this webinar. Well, that's not true with ours. It literally has nothing that's downloaded to your computer. And this is where the frustration comes in for most people. Installing the software and asking people in an office to make sure that all that is continually updated is just, it's not a good thing. It's very frustrating to those people in the office trying to do that, especially when they're being interrupted by, their workflow to do that. So that's why we tell people, look, you can go to any computer in the world, we don't care where it's located, and you can start using our software as long as you have your user ID and password on there. So, number 2.
The ease of accessibility. that's a key issue here, especially with once you have multiple clients that you're having to deal with. It's just unbelievably how easily your client, you, and your staff can easily access the information here utilizing the web-based system.
Yeah, and when you log in, you literally would be looking at the exact same thing from any computer in an office because you're logged into the same account. That's what's nice about this, folks, is you can get access to the doctor and their staff to see certain aspects of the system for you to show them certain things that they want to see. I mentioned the scheduler earlier, but they might also want to see reports, for example. They may even want to see the patient records. It's the billing side, of course, that you have complete control over as the administrator of the system. But it doesn't matter how many users there are. We don't charge any user fees, and so you literally can set up as many users as you wish as that administrator. And they can even, you and anybody else could log in from anywhere that has an internet connection. I got this picture off the internet, but you can tell that's a Starbucks cup sitting there. So you can go to Starbucks and run your business from there. We've had licensees tell us that sometimes they just go and sit and just kind of get away and relax, and yet they're still able to log into our system. We had one licensee, remember, Eric, about, this has been 3 or 4 years ago, but this couple got into the business and did not even have a computer, could not afford to buy a computer. So guess what they did? They went to the library. Yeah.
Right.
And they started their business right from the computers in the library.
Well, this is what you can be able to do, and again, we've got a question here about data encryption. So let's talk about that, Patrick. Let's talk about and again, I'm sure we're going to get to that a little bit later, but since we're dealing with being at the library or being at Starbucks or anything else like that, let's just interject a little bit about the data encryption. And is this data safe whenever I'm logged in to iClaim?
Yeah, I see that there from Alfred. Alfred, actually, we are going to get into that a little bit heavier, but let me just say this. Since I brought up this thing about the library, this is HIPAA-compliant software, and if it's HIPAA-compliant and has been certified as HIPAA-compliant, that's the Health Insurance and Portability and Accountability Act that has been set up by Congress, for patient privacy and so forth, and the sharing of patient data. If it's HIPAA compliant, it has to be secure, and it has to be redundant, meaning, like you've asked there, Alfred, is there redundancy? That means, folks, is it on more than one server that's out there? And yes, so I will get into that a little bit heavier here as we go along, but I wanted to address that right up front there, too. Heck, you can even go on a cruise, folks. And they have big computer rooms inside the cruise ships now that you can go in and use and log into our system right from there. It doesn't matter where you're at. Remember, nothing resides on that computer or has to be downloaded to that computer. If you can browse to, yahoo.com or google.com, you can access our system because you're just going basically to the link that we give you that logs into our system. And nowadays, as far as redundancy and having redundancy in connection to the internet, even if your ISP went down, like here at my house, every once in a while, I've been here for about 5 years in my home, and every once in a while my ISP will go down. But I'm talking about like once every 3 months, and then only for about an hour. But even at that point, folks, there are little devices that are out there, like you see there on the left side, that can hook up in your home, and you pay like $20, $30 a month, and you have connection direct to the internet through that little device. So even if your ISP is down, you just could switch over to that thing, and you'd be instantly reconnected to the internet. Even cell phones have. Don't you have a hotspot on yours, Eric, that you can connect?
I do.
Right to the internet. Yeah.
It's actually there as a backup in case I need it, and so because a lot of people do ask that, Patrick, especially about when they're talking about server systems, server-based systems, or web-based systems. It's kind of funny. People do ask the question, because we get this question, and they ask, well, what happens if the electricity goes down? Well, if it's a server-based system and it's in a doctor's office, and you don't have any electricity, it's not going to go anywhere anyway. But then the second question does come out, well, what happens if we lose internet connection? And that can be, could be somewhat challenging if they're just locked in with something. So we do tell doctors at times, if they want to make sure that they have a solid backup, to have something like this as a hotspot, as a quick backup, for if there's any internet interruptions. But you know, Patrick, that's so far and few between that ever has occurred.
Well, the internet is just everywhere today, and with these hotspot things available, like you said, for $30 a month, that's $1 a day. That's a pretty good insurance policy if you just want to make sure that you always have the ability to connect to the internet. You could also run to your neighbor's house, right?
Right.
Unless it's down in your whole area. And I have one more slide here that I want to show, and I've put this together because the question has come up in the past from some of our people looking into getting our business. Well, what about, I hear that sometimes client server software allows you to open up multiple windows. Well, actually, on our system, the safe thing is that you're always working within one window. You don't want multiple windows open. Let me tell you what happens when you're using software. Have you ever used software, Eric, Windows-based software, that you open up one window and then it pops open another one, and then you click on something else and it pops open another one, and then you click something else and another one pops open, and then you go on and click and click and click, and all of a sudden your whole screen is covered with screens. And you're not sure, should I close this one? What if I close this one? Will it lose what I've done over on this one? Folks, that's not the best way to work software. You think of that as chaos compared to just utilizing one screen with one system, one at a time. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. I didn't know where else to fit it in.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I believe earlier, I think even Craig had asked about something not easily upgradable, I would assume, but you know, our system is easily upgradable because it's done whenever it's needed.
That's right. By us, behind the scenes, on the servers, the updates are done, and then when you log in, you know, to our system, you're using the latest version. Unlike software that has to be, you constantly download. I mean, have you ever used software, Eric, in the past, you know, where you, any kind of software, even Microsoft Office, you know, where you're constantly downloading the newest upgrades, and they want you to reinstall, and they found a little bug that they fixed, you know, and there's all kinds of reasons why they do that. And then it's not just on one computer in your office, but every computer. You got to run around to every one and log in and make sure that has been. And then there's, oh gosh, remember all the headaches with viruses? We don't have to worry about that with our systems. There's no antivirus that has to be installed on our system because there's no viruses that ever get into our system. So the clean, sharp, one screen at a time interface of a cloud-based system, folks, is the only way to go, because you can always be assured that logging in, I'm looking at the latest version. I never have to worry about that. It's handled by our IT nerds, you know, behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And then, you know, again, another question has come in about maintenance and when does that take place? It does take, you know, there's certain times where the system needs to be upgraded or updated, and that's certainly done at off-peak hours. And you're always known if there is something that's going on, but that's the beauty, again, of a web-based type system.
Eric, have you heard, I don't know exactly what the number is because it's so tiny. People ask us about our downtime. I would rather talk about uptime because it's 99.7% or something. It's such a small downtime, it's hard to believe. But it does happen from time to time, and if it's planned, like because if it's accidental, of course, it'll just switch over to another redundant server. You would not even know that the system is down. But if we plan to shut everything down at one time to do some sort of upgrade or something like that, you're given notice, and it's usually at, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, absolutely.
Like yeah. So it's usually not a big deal to anybody. But folks, talking about hard disks and things like that, they do go bad. I mean, things happen, right? So, you know, here's the nice thing with software that resides on our servers, not yours. You don't have to worry about that because we're constantly backing that data up onto other servers as well. If the software is on your hard disk in your computer, and it's not a matter of if your hard disk is going to crash, it's when. It's just a matter of time. If it hasn't happened to you already, you just haven't owned your computer long enough. But eventually that will go bad because it's a mechanical device, or something in the hardware, in the cables, or in the motherboard itself, the chips themselves will go bad. And then you got to call in the nerds. Yeah, these are the guys that can cost you a lot of money. Believe me, I used to pay a full-time guy to run our network in our office when we had some client-server software at one time. And, I mean, that's what that guy's job was, is to make sure everybody's computer in the office, you know, was up to speed and virus-free and running completely, with the up-to-date software. Again, with cloud-based, you never have to worry about that, folks, because it doesn't matter what the device is. The software is not on it. And so you can focus on hardware if you want to. Go out and buy the latest, Surface tablet laptop computers or the latest iMac computers. Doesn't matter. It's not going to have anything to do with our software at all.
None whatsoever. And again, I tell you, whenever our licensees are going to talk with a client, a potential client of theirs, that's one of the advantages that they can certainly talk about, is that, Doc, what you have in the office, you know, there's no additional software or anything else that you're going to need, and so that does certainly become an advantage.
Yeah, that's right. And this is the big question that comes up a lot, isn't it? Somebody asked us earlier, and this is where we get into that a little bit more.
Yeah, about data safety and secure, and this is where, Patrick, this term HIPAA comes into play. And I like to first start off when people do ask about safety and data safety and patient information. Folks, we could not even be in business unless we met the requirements of HIPAA, and that is the privacy portions of patients' information. And literally, we could not be able to operate unless we met that criteria.
Yeah, these are government rules and regulations. We didn't even set them up. I mean, we had nothing to do with them. They tell us, here's what you have to be able to have a cloud-based medical billing system. And so you know that we're following those because we're in business. Like Eric said, we'd be out of business if we weren't. But again, as we mentioned earlier, hard disks are mechanical devices. They can go bad. Don't you love that? I found one with a doctor's stethoscope on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's one of the things you got to worry about. Not only hardware failing if the software is on your client servers, but what about theft? Yeah, what about people who can plug in a little USB drive and download all the information about patients? I don't think that's HIPAA compliancy.
No.
That's kind of scary. And then there's literally the theft of your computer. What if somebody comes into your office and walks out with the computer? That happens a lot. Right. And there goes your data. There goes your the patient privacy is just out the window, literally. And then if you're working out of your home, thinking about starting a medical billing, which 90% of our licensees work out of their home, probably, Eric, wouldn't you guess? That's a pretty good guess. There's one big problem in your home that you may not have thought about. Yeah, here he is. It's your 9-year-old. Yeah, they can get on your computer and erase stuff and destroy things and maybe even see some private data that they should not be seeing about patients. That's all, failure of HIPAA compliancy. That's why our system will log you out automatically, won't it, Eric? While you're using it.
Yeah. If you're not on it for somewhat of a long time limit, it'll shut them down, and you'd have to log back in. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a good safety to make sure that nobody can just walk into your office, and start looking at stuff. And then, of course, there's spills. Yes, it happens from time to time. Somebody can spill something right on their keyboard, and I can tell you, water and electricity just doesn't mix. I did that one time, and I saw blue smoke coming out of the laptop. I mean, it fried that sucker. So all kinds. And then there's one other major disaster in your home that you may not have thought about, and I put another picture in here. Don't you love this one?
That's cute. Yep. You just need one of your pets to walk all over your nose.
Yeah, or maybe even, have an accident on it or something.
Right.
That would destroy your data as well. So, folks, we do have very secure data. I want to show you a picture of our server rooms so you can actually see where the data is actually stored in our offices in 2 different locations here in the United States, by the way. Yes, that is our up-to-date, modern client server based. No, not really.
Oh,
I just found it. Isn't that hilarious? That's probably, huh?
Go right ahead.
That probably doesn't have as much computing power as the iPad that I'm watching this webinar on.
Right.
No, our servers look a little bit more modern than that. They are in very climate-controlled. Well, I got a slide on all that here, but anyway, picture in your mind something like this, folks. The servers and the data is always very secure because we are as concerned about the data as you are. Remember, we make our money on the processing of the claims, just like you do. And so we're more concerned. Listen, nobody's more paranoid about all this kind of data stuff than I am, are they, Eric? I mean,
right.
The guys around the office are always kidding about the fact that I'm paranoid about stuff when it comes to the data redundancy. Very important to us as it is to you. So when you walk into our facilities, you've got to have your iris scanned and your thumb and your blood taken and your firstborn son birth certificate or something. It's very, very secure facility. And so that security is redundant power supplies in case the power goes out, 24/7 by 365-day monitoring with cameras like I showed you there. Redundant network equipment, that means not just one server but several, climate control even, early warning fire detection systems are built in, internet connections are all redundant, and the data is stored in the premier database software, which is Oracle software. So I don't even know what all that means.
And for some people, I think some people get this. I think they understand. I think in the times that we're living in, we're starting to certainly see that people understand about security. I mean, certainly with you got right here on online banking. I'm sure most of us do something online, either with credit cards or Amazon or just doing our online banking. And folks, this is the same type of server systems that we have and that we're on, but yet they meet other requirements that are, again, governmental requirements for the patient securities. And many times when we see our licensees going into a brand new doctor's office, that you really find out that the doctors themselves are not HIPAA compliant with what they're currently doing, and we're able to actually get them to a certain level of compliancy just by having them on our iClaim or MRX system.
That's a good point, Eric. They really can't qualify for some of that stimulus money for the EHR unless they are compliant with all that. And, yeah, I never even thought about that. This helps them get compliant, like, instantly, overnight.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I just saw something here from Deshaun. He says, so a VPN is not required from my computer, which is at home, to the cloud server. Let me explain that just a little bit. A virtual private network, VPN, is what he's talking about. And, folks, that is like you have a login maybe if you work from home for a company. They will give you a virtual private. They have a virtual private network set up so that you can log into that, and then you're connected to their servers. No, Deshaun, you don't have to worry about that. You literally have to have a browser, a computer, and a browser that's connected to the internet, and you have direct access to the system. Yeah. And so the security is very strong, folks. Like I said, it's not just backed up locally, but it's backed up off-site in other locations. Some of our redundancy is actually in 2 different time zones as well, and 2 different electrical grids in the United States. So we've even thought all that through in case one grid went completely down. So that's why it's very, very safe. Folks, if you're used to doing online banking, Eric, do you do online banking?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I do too. And so all the big banks trust this type of technology, folks. There's nothing new about this. It's been around since the mid '90s. So this is not something brand new. And then when we talked about this HIPAA several times, I just want to reemphasize the fact, guys, that if HIPAA did not think that this was safe, they would not allow cloud-based medical billing systems. And so you can just rest assured that they've done the research and the study. And then there's even an organization called, I guess you pronounce it, ENAC. ENAC? I don't know. Yeah, ENAC, the Electronic Healthcare Network Accreditation Commission. They're the ones that look at this and say whether or not they think that this is all secure, that you have your security in place, that your backups are what they need to be, and that kind of thing. And so all of that is approved, for iClaim EMRX. All right, let's talk about users. Eric,
absolutely.
You in our research and development department, you're kind of familiar with this. You have a lot of people logging in from time to time for various reasons, don't you?
And a lot of certainly the the server-based client type servers will let you log in maybe up to 5 at a time, or then they'll say, well, the next tier level is 6 to 10, and then
you got to pay for that.
Each of those tiers you have to end up paying for. With our system, you can have as many users on the system as you need, which is good because in a doctor's office, in one doctor's office, you certainly would need the doctor to log in, their staff, which could be 3 or 4 people, your staff, which could be 3 or 4 people, and by the time that you know it, you're at 6, 7, 8 people logging in to one account. And so you could see how that could actually get fairly pricey with a server-type based system.
Yeah, and you know what, Eric, it just dawned on me that we have licensees that have 25 and 30 employees now, or
correct,
independent contractors, if that's the case, and they're all able to log into the system. If those folks were using a client-server software system, folks, they would be paying hundreds of dollars a month, because, like you said, for the first 5, you might get the first 5 included in your software price, and then you've got to pay extra for those extra users. With ours, there's never an additional charge, no matter how many users you have.
Right.
And of course, there are software client server systems out there that reside on your computers in your office, and they'll tell you that they can set it up similar to what Deshaun was just asking earlier about a virtual private network type situation. They use a third piece of software between, say, the doctor's office and your office to connect you to the doctor's office, something like PC Anywhere here that connects 2 computers over the internet. But, that's pretty crude. And first of all, you don't want to install anything on a doctor's computer. You don't want to mess with his hard disk, and because if something disappeared somewhere in the future, they could say that you're the one that deleted it accidentally. Right. So imagine, Eric, the liability of somebody wanting to install something on a computer in a doctor's office. I wouldn't.
Well, especially when you get into the HIPAA rules and the accessibility on certain things, because the whole HIPAA thing is coming down on top of these doctors. And so what we want to be able to provide, and those that are on the call that are looking to get into this business, one of the things you're going to want to know is my system secure, and can I get into it without having any other third-party type software like this? Because these are those areas where HIPAA is looking to say, no, well, you might have a violation right here. So these are some of those areas that you certainly need to be aware of.
That's right. Okay. Well, that's why I have these people here looking so happy, because they don't have to worry about that. That is always under our control, and they never have to worry about that. Now, the next reason why cloud systems are, I think, the way to go, I have no doubt, is that they're mobile friendly. Yeah. Boy, I tell you, you think about it, client server, how would you access that from any device, anywhere, anytime that you thought of it? You couldn't access a client server software from your, laptops or iPhones or anything like that. And with this, of course, tablets of any kind, all the new tablets that are out there, anything that has a browser in it, you can connect to our system and see it. Now, on an iPhone, you have to admit it's kind of tiny, but you know, you can unpinch and zoom in, on the images on things that you can see, enough to at least see and read something. I wouldn't want to do my data entry from an iPhone, but the tablets that are out there are quite useful. In fact, some doctors' offices love that when they get into the electronic medical records, don't they, Eric? That's what they live for, is to use those tablet devices that are out there. All right, reason number 8 that we think cloud-based systems make a lot more sense is there's no need for the gurus. I mentioned them earlier. Here's one of them that may walk into your office. And folks, these people are very expensive. I paid a guy close to $50,000 a year, and that's all he did was maintain the software, the updates, the virus stuff, and all the network connections and everything. So the doctors will tell you that that's a hidden cost that they never figure in when they think about putting software on their computers in their own office and doing their own billing, is having that person that they've got to call on, at least once a week to come out and solve some problem there. So keep that in mind. That's a hidden cost that you might not even think about.
Well, let's talk about the codes, because we are fast approaching to what's called the ICD-10s. We're currently with ICD-9s, for those that might have a little bit of knowledge about that. But with our system, anytime any of the current codes have to be updated, or looking forward to the future, anytime that the codes are going to be really changed from going to one completely set of codes to another different type of set of codes. And the doctors are asking about this. They're asking about this now. Is your system ready, and will it have all the updated codes? And we are always up to date on what we're showing you here on the ICD-9 codes, or what's called the CPT codes, which is the procedure codes. So, Patrick, you want to share a little bit about this information here?
Yeah, guys, if you went into a doctor's office, they probably have these books, something similar to these. These are the diagnostic codes and the procedure codes that have to be submitted to the insurance companies for the doctors to get paid for what they are doing with the patients. And if you've ever seen what's called a super bill, it looks something like this. Every doctor has one similar to this, and it always has these little codes. I don't know if you can see those on your screen or not, but those little tiny numbers that you see there is what the doctor is going to circle and give to you as a medical biller. And your job is to take that code and put it into our system and submit the claim. But those codes are very important, and most people don't realize it, that they have to be updated on a regular basis. When new codes come out, somebody has to make sure that all the computers that are in your office and the doctor's office are all updated if you're using client-server software systems. With ours, of course, that's distributed through the internet, the interweb, automatically. And you never have to worry about that, as we mentioned earlier. Even our codes, not just the software, but these medical codes are kept up to date by certified medical coders that are on staff with us and our technology partners who make sure that those codes are accurate in there. So you never have to worry about who has the latest information, who is using the latest codes. Is everybody's codes on everybody's computers updated? Everyone has it. They all have the latest data. I think that's the coolest part, one of the coolest parts of the system.
Yeah, and absolutely. And again, we haven't really touched on this, but I want to bring this into play here. Folks, the reason that we're showing this to you today is to show you that we're well ahead of the game, and being well ahead of the game means that we are actually able to collect more money for the doctors, and that's really what it comes down to. We're not necessarily here showing the doctor that we've got the latest and greatest piece of software that we're wanting to give them or to show them or to sell them, but we are telling them and showing them that because of the technology that we're in, that's one thing. I don't know, Patrick, if you've got down here about the difference between a server-based software and a web-based software, is the speed in which we can collect money for the doctor.
Yeah, that's one of the things that people don't realize, is that because it's web-based, it's in real time. And that means when you're submitting something, folks, it's not having to be uploaded in batches in the middle of the night to a clearinghouse somewhere that then receives it and processes it and then gets a report back to you. That's all old technology, folks. This is all live, real-time data. So like Eric said, we get the money a lot faster for the doctors because of that, and we can check and catch all the errors that most software systems will catch. So like Eric said, folks, we're not showing this to you because this is something to be showing to the doctor and talking about all this to the doctor. If you're thinking about getting into medical billing, though, it's important that you realize how much different it is if you're even thinking about buying software and putting it on your computer. You're opening yourself up to all of these problems that we've gone over here today. So, well, Eric, we better wrap it up here pretty quick so we can get to some more questions. I see some coming in here, by the way. Oh, one was from Craig. Let me address this because he says, so the codes are entered manually? You know, it used to be when people were getting into medical billing that's what they were thinking that they were going to do. In other words, that's what medical billing is, right? Somebody has to put the codes in. It's either the doctor and their staff in their own office on their own software, or somebody outside like yourself. Now, Craig, you've brought up an interesting question, though, because, Eric, you can probably address this better than I can, because he's asking, does he have to put those codes in manually? But if the doctor's using our electronic medical record system, he, as a medical biller, doesn't even have to put the code in, does he?
Right. Yeah, kind of funny. We were doing a demo here not too long ago, just a little over an hour ago, and showing that to someone, and we got down to that part where it showed it coming from the medical record side directly into the practice management side to actually be billed. And he goes, "Wow, the codes are already there." I said, "Absolutely. This again helps you and the doctor collect that doctor's money quicker, because again, in the end, that means you as the medical billing company gets paid much quicker too. So it really shortens the revenue cycle for everybody."
Yeah, it basically also makes sure that it's accurate, because the doctor's the one that actually entered the code on his end using the electronic medical record system on his iPad as he was visiting with the patient. He put the code in. And
Correct.
It just transfers over then into the billing side, the practice management side of our system, so that you, the biller, can actually make sure that it's submitted correctly through the clearinghouse. Which brings us to clearinghouses. Oh, I just didn't mean to go back to our slide there on the webinar. Let me go back to cloud-based. Okay, cloud-based integrated clearinghouse, folks. This is reason number 10 why cloud-based systems are better, because most client servers are set up, and let's talk about clearinghouses just for a second, Eric. You want to kind of explain what happens in that process? What
Certainly, yeah.
Is?
The clearinghouse is the go-between between you as the biller and what's called the payer. And the payer can be commercial or governmental. And we know the governmental would be Medicare, Medicaid, or the commercials are going to be your Blue Cross Blue Shields and so on. So Patrick's got a diagram up here saying payer 1, payer 2, and payer X. So those are the payers. But what communicates between you as the billing company and these payers here is the party that's called the clearinghouse. And what they do, they make sure that they check for certain errors, and then they also format it to each of those individual payers so that those payers can receive it in the format that they want. And so what can happen here is when you send a bill from or a claim from you, or like even from the doctor, and goes to the clearinghouse, the way that most platforms do right now can take up 24 to 48 hours, and maybe even sometimes a little bit longer than that, to get information to whether that claim is good to go to a payer or not good to go to a payer, which would be accepted or rejected. And so that could certainly slow down the process. Ours is in real time. Because our clearinghouse is completely integrated with iClaim, you're able to see the claims, whether they're accepted or not, in real time. And that graphic that Patrick is showing on the screen now, to the right, where you see that pie chart diagram, that is literally looking inside of the clearinghouse in and of itself. So claims that have been filed, claims that have been sent through the clearinghouse to whether they've been rejected or accepted, and then those that have been sent off to the payer. Again, this is all in real time, and you just can't get that with a server-based system.
No, and it blows licensees and doctors away when they first see this, because they can't imagine that it could happen like that in real time, because, again, other systems are going to take you 24 to 48 hours before you even see that data show up. And then, you're kind of behind the times because you've already processed another 100 claims or more, So,
right.
Yeah. So when we do a demo, we do demonstrations of this system, folks, for you as an ABS licensee. We'll do a demonstration live over the internet using GoToMeeting and show the doctor exactly why you can help them as a medical biller to solve their revenue cycle problems. And when they see this with their own eyes, Eric, what do you hear most of the time throughout the whole demo?
Wow. I can't believe it can be that easy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just some of the simple things as checking eligibility and not having to go outside the system to check eligibility, and use that key component to actually populate patient demographics. And those are the simple things that literally are showing when we show the system to doctors and office managers. I don't, this one right here is going, oh my goodness, you can really do it like that? That's the first thing that came to my mind when you put that there. I have been doing it the old-fashioned way, like literally typing it in. I could be doing it a much simpler way.
Yeah, think of all the time I've wasted. Well, actually,
Yeah.
I put this up here to kind of illustrate this. There are companies out there that are telling people, if you want to get into medical billing, you don't want to have your clearinghouse integrated into your billing system because you want the freedom to set up, with any clearinghouse that's out there. Well, there's dozens of clearinghouses, folks, and this is to illustrate the headache that you would have to go through if you were trying to set up yourself and get all the paperwork done and everything cleared and approved and so forth. You don't have to do that. With iClaim, all of that's already been done for you. And it's very simple. You can literally start billing the day that you set the system up. You don't have to worry about all that. Okay, well, Eric, let's go to the questions. I'm going to put our slide up here about our next training. Again, folks, if you're thinking about coming down and you're doing your due diligence on us as a company and you think that this is something you want to do as a business, just continue researching, talking to your ABS rep, and maybe even talking to some of our licensees. All over the country about what they think about our training and our support. And get on down here. April 8th is going to be here before you know it.
Absolutely. Well, here's a question that comes in from Manish, and I know that he's seriously looking at becoming a licensee here, and so it's a great question about transferring patient data from one system to the ABS EMRX system. So once we sign on a doctor, he's asking, and using the software of the other medical billing company or whatever, how is that transferred from one system to another? Well, it's really easy. We can bring in patient demographics from one system to another. There is a spreadsheet that's used, and we can do that. But, Patrick, let's talk a little bit about when we do bring in that patient data from one system to another, because you always like to use this, garbage in, garbage out. So if we put in garbage in, there's that possibility that some of those claims could be rejected because we've got wrong patient data in there.
Well, and that may be one of the reasons why that particular doctor's rejection rate is so high, is that the data is corrupted. You don't want to corrupt, another system, a brand new system like ours, with old data. So it's much easier than you think, folks. Think about it this way. New patients, as they are entered into our system through, the data that's given to you by the doctor, the patient information sheets and so forth that they send through our online system, those are just put in one time. In other words, all the name and address and phone number and information about the insurance company and so forth, that's all entered just one time into our system. When the patient comes back for another visit, all that's already there. All you're doing is submitting the new codes for that particular visit. But if people are insistent that they have, thousands of patients, although a doctor doesn't, really see all the 1,000 that are in his system at any one time, only a handful are really coming on a regular basis. But if they want to, like Eric said, yes, the short answer is yes. we can bring that data in. You still are going to need to re-verify that with patients to make sure that the data is up to date and correct. We have found that some doctors' offices' data is up to 30% of it is out of date.
Correct.
So you might as well just put it in yourself, make sure it's correct, and then it's there.
Absolutely.
Going forward, it's just going to be there forever.
Right, absolutely, and that is the best way to do it. And when we say day one billing, we really try to make it a clean break from what they're currently doing to the new system, again, to ensure the proper revenue cycle starting off basically on the right foot.
Yeah, and since mainly you're charging a percentage of what's collected, let's say an average claim is $150. Well, even $100. Make it round numbers. $100, and you're charging, say, 7% of that. That's $7 you make on putting that claim in. Eric, what would it take for a brand new patient even to put the demographics in by hand?
Right.
Maybe 2 minutes, 3, 5?
Yeah, just probably at the most, and just to make sure that you got the correct information in there.
Sure.
It goes a long way in the future.
Yes, it does. So, but that was a great question. Sure.
Okay, how about the question that when everything is said and done, this is coming from Kevin. He says, when everything is said and done, how is the doctor reimbursed, and how does he get his percentage out of it?
Oh, how does Kevin get his money? Oh, that's a good question. Well, when everything's said and done, basically, the doctor's going to get reimbursed directly from the insurance companies. In other words, you're not involved in that cash flow at all, Kevin. You submit the claims go to the insurance companies who already know where to send the money, and that's to the doctor. The doctor gets those checks in with what's called an EOB, explanation of benefits, that tells him where the money is applied to what patients, and that's put into the system, either by you or sometimes the doctor's staff does that. Now, at the end of the month, since ours is a live, real-time system, you can tell the doctor, basically send him a statement, an invoice. Say, here's how much money we collected for you, and here's my percentage, and so mail me a check. But remember, the doctor doesn't have to take your word for that. He can go in the system and see it for himself anytime, 24/7, live. So it's pretty simple. And most of our licensees, to tell you the truth, will bill a doctor about twice a month, just like most people pay their payroll on the 1st and the 15th. Usually that's what people are doing. I have some licensees. In fact, one of the instructors down here this week, Cynthia Anderson, Eric, she said in the class yesterday that she does not invoice her doctors. She uses an automated system to automatically collect that from the doctor. What she does is send an invoice and say, I'm going to collect this money directly out of your bank account, this amount, based on these numbers. Go check the system, and they know how to do that. The doctors have access, and make sure that it's all correct. Unless I hear from you 5 days from now, I'm going to be collecting that, and she does. Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
That can be set up as well, sure.
All right, let's see if there's any other questions here that we can take here. How about from Craig? He's asking, what is the most frequent initial objection we will hear from a prospective doctor?
Oh, I can tell you. It's real simple. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Yep.
Everything in my office is fine. We're either doing the billing ourselves and everything's fine, or we've already outsourced it to somebody else and it's still everything's fine. In their minds, it is most of the time. Wouldn't you say, Eric? I mean,
most of the time, and that's why when you, as a brand new licensee, come to training, we take you on the journey of learning how to do a practice analysis to literally show the doctors that things are just fine.
That's right.
Numbers
in other words, what? I'm sorry, Eric, but you kind of cut out there.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie, that's right. And when we do this practice analysis, we get their numbers from them. And then we go put it in. We got a spreadsheet that we put it into that cranks out a report that shows them in black and white, folks, what you can do to increase their revenue. This is like selling popsicles in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real need out there, and it's like selling money. How hard would it be to sell $20 bills for $1 on the street corners? That's what you're doing when you go in. Yeah, you tell the doctors, look, I'm going to increase your revenue by 30%. I either do or I don't. If I don't, you don't pay me. I mean, it can be that simple.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
Patrick, as we're kind of wrapping up here, we're up at the top of the hour. Why don't you tell them about the money back guarantee that you have that you've got out there for potential licensees?
I think I should show that. I have no idea where that is here in my slides. Here it is. I had to look for it there. Okay, so folks, we've decided that the best way for you to know whether we're for real or not, and we've been doing this for 19 years, since 1994, but if you're still wondering if we're for real, just join us. Come on down. Execute the agreement with your ABS rep. You have to give the funds to us, of course, up front, but that's held in a trust fund by our attorney, because at the end of our training workshop, if for any reason, you see it, it's on the screen here. And folks, this is exactly how it reads in our contract with you. If you don't think this business is right for you, that could be for any reason, right? You simply tell any staff member and they would arrange for you to receive a full refund. That's the best way I've come up with helping people feel comfortable in coming down here and investing this kind of money with somebody that they don't know. And once you do go through that week, if you don't think it's for you, we're going to give you your money back. But I can tell you that hasn't happened, but 3 times, I think, Eric,
right.
is what we've tracked in the last 19 years. So there is that. And by the way, you might want to just continue being on these webinars. We don't care. We do these webinars every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Central Time. And here's the next one coming up next week. It's called the Top 10 Questions That You Should Be Asking About Starting a Medical Billing Business. And folks, wait till you see some of the questions you may not be thinking about that you should be asking, not just us, but anybody that you're dealing with over the internet about getting into the medical billing business. Please, please attend this webinar and ask these questions. Now, I'm going to put up there the link on the screen, and I'm also going to send it to you in the chat. If you'll look on this GoToWebinar interface here, there's a little chat box. I'm copying that right now and putting that in there, and everybody should get it right about now. Yeah. So when this webinar is over here in about 1 minute, you can click on that and sign up for the next webinar. Eric, thanks for being on here today and helping out with the webinar. Appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Patrick, and thanks, everybody. And we look forward to talking with you and hopefully see you up in our next training class here and coming up in April. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye for now.